evening. So welcome to today's YouTube live session where myself along with our pathology microbiology educator Dr. Preeti Sharma and ENT educator Dr. Vyshnavi ma'am, we are here to help you navigate your path to success when you're preparing for your medical PG or even for FMG. The undergraduate students, if we have them here, who are not appearing for the PG entrance exam immediately, but sooner or later you would be doing that. This session is going to help you as well. So basically, this is not like a very, very formal session, right? But it's going to be a very candid session where we, all of us, the three of us, are going to tell you that how did we prepare for our PG entrance exam? What did we learn? Like, if given a chance now, what would be the changes that we would like to do in our preparation, the mistakes that we would like to avoid? And, having had an experience over the period of years, the things that we have learned, whatever it is, so we are going to give you all basically to help you navigate your path to success in your preparation for these exams. So we know that, the exam preparation journey becomes a bit, full of a bit of hurdles and difficulties. But let me tell you that it's not as difficult as it seems. So you would learn all of that as we keep talking, and whatever queries you have, please put it down in the live chat. We'll be taking it one by one as and when we get time. So please feel free to ask all your queries. And yes, welcome Dr. Preeti and Dr. Vyshnavi to today's session.
Thank you, ma'am, and good evening, everyone.
Thank you so much, ma'am, and good evening to all the students. And as ma'am was talking about that we are going to share our journeys, it takes us definitely back in time, and all of us would agree that we've already started having palpitations thinking about that time also, because that anxiety, that stress, that panic, suddenly, even after so many years, it does seem to come back. But I think it's a great thing that we get to share this with the students so that they'll know that they're not alone and everyone has gone through a similar phase.
Yes, absolutely. So I think the students would get to learn that, we have also had our lows during our preparation, and I'm sure all of us would be sharing that. So let's start discussing about our journey, and we can go on to the next slide. So talking about, the strategies and approach that we had during our preparation, Vyshnavi ma'am, we would like to hear from you first.
Yeah, so I think my approach was very simple because taking into account during my time, we didn't have, online resources. We didn't have GTs. We didn't have, so much of YouTube content. We didn't have any of the digital, availability of any of the apps during that time. So it was quite simple. It was just to see what your neighbors are doing, what your friends are doing, and just follow the same. If seniors have studied some book or some coaching institute they've gone to, just join that blindly. So it was pretty simple during my times because I appeared in 2011, my examination. So in that time, I think the most easiest was to just go through the standard books, standard MCQ books, learn them well, repeatedly solve the MCQs, just attend the tests that were conducted in your coaching institutes, and that's about it in terms of approach. So I think it was very simple. How about you guys?
Yeah, so let's hear it from Dr. Preeti first.
Right. So, ma'am, I gave my NEET PG in 2012, which also happens to be a landmark because I think same as you, Nikita, ma'am, because that was the first NEET PG, I suppose, that was there. And it was very sudden that it was announced, because I remember I was in my internship, and somewhere at that point of time, like Vaishnavi ma'am was saying, there used to be individual exams for every college and most of the colleges and states. But then suddenly it was announced that this is going to be an all India exam. This was somewhere in the month of April that it was announced, and the exam had to happen in November or December. And obviously cold feet, panic attacks, anxiety, everything came all together, and there was nothing known as previous year questions, because it was going to happen for the very first time. We did not have anything to bank upon or to find out how the pattern is going to be, and we did not even have so much of online resources. Although today I somewhere feel that one or two resources would have been good, but the kind of abundance that students have nowadays could have been a little, overwhelming also. But we did not have all of that. So it was like make your own study plan, customize for yourself, do what suits you. And yeah, that was pretty much it. And I'm very thankful that we made through, because now when I look back, we were very clueless. We had no idea about what was going to happen or what was happening. We just had our standard textbooks. And I just want to add that although it's very ironical that today I am affiliated with coaching institutes and I teach as an educator, but I was not a coaching institute student as such, because I could never sit for 12-hour classes. My attention span used to be 2.5 hours, and I used to just get up. So I never joined any coaching institute. So it was more or less of self-study and whatever notes I had made for my own self. And yeah, I'm just like, I think God has been kind that with all those obstacles and everything being so raw, being so, new, but we managed to make through it. So yes, I'm assuming, Nikita ma'am, you also appeared for the same NEET, or am I getting it wrong?
I think mine was AI PG 2012 and yours should have
Okay.
been NEET PG 2013, if I'm not wrong. I think
2013, I joined my PG. 2012 was when the exam was conducted. So yeah, the result came out in 2013, of course.
yeah, true that. So mine was like, I'm on your other edge, just this edge. Mine was the last batch who gave the All India PG, like before the NEET PG came in. And I absolutely remember, like you said, so many sessions for NEET PG, and Hamara batch was like, thankfully, hum nikal gaye. We had that thought at that time. So if I talk about my preparation journey, so I have done my MBBS from Mumbai, LTMC Science. But for my internship, actually, I had taken an externship transfer to my hometown, Amravati, and due to some personal reasons. And so, it being a small town, we did not have the coaching facilities there. And I was, to be very honest, very envious of my friends who were in Mumbai then and attending the classes. And we used to get that thought, ki, mera kuch miss ho raha hai. Like in the today's world, the students have this digital wala FOMO, ki itne sare resources hai. Thankfully, we did not have so many resources, I would say, at that time, the online as well. But still, we had that FOMO, I am in a small town and they are in Mumbai attending the classes. Maybe I'm missing on something. But then, every time, whenever you get that doubt, you have to be your own motivator and you have to keep telling it to yourself, no, you are doing the right thing. And, you would be in a good position. Because I'm pretty sure that the students might also be getting that doubt day in and day out, hoga, nahi hoga, last time nahi hua, is bar kya hoga. So I would like to tell each one of them that, you are not alone here, who's facing that self-doubt. Everybody goes through it. Just have that faith and be consistent. That is what you can do. Plan your days. Most important, keep revising. That is what I've learned through my journey. And practice MCQs. That is equally important. I so much wish ki kash sab PrepLadder or sab app hote, so that, in spite of if I was in Amravati, I could still attend the classes and not get that FOMO. But yeah, we'll keep talking more about our journey.
I think you did quite well, Naman.
Sorry?
Even without the apps or coaching, I think you did quite well, which is an example to state that, even without having great resources or without having anything, you still can do well in life if you're confident about yourself.
Absolutely, but ma'am, I would also like to add, like I said, कि अगर ऐसे PrepLadder जैसे app और rapid revision जैसे videos होते तो और अच्छा होता probably.
That's the typical quality of the topper students, that no matter what grade they may achieve, they always feel that thoda sa abhi better aur ho sakta tha, and that is what is reflecting from Nikita ma'am's conversation also over here. Vyshnavi ma'am, did you take up any coaching when you were preparing, or was it like more
because basically I told you, right, during my time the trend is just move to bigger cities like Hyderabad or Bangalore, because I come from a second tier city, and then we didn't have any coaching institutes there, and in fact for today's time also we don't have any offline classes there today also. So at that time everybody would go after their internship just to Bangalore or Hyderabad and stay there for a year and prepare for their exam. So that's how I did, and just followed what the trend was then and just followed what everybody did. So I was not really one of those intelligent students. I mean, of course I would do well, not like very bad in my college days. And I was one of the best outgoing students also of my college. But if you compare like for state and all India, I don't think I was there at the top, like AIPG 1 ranker, wo level to nahi tha. But yes, of course, I knew that I have that potential, and I just wanted to follow what everybody else did during that time. And I just followed them, and I just went ahead and took the coaching classes.
Right. So I think we'll take this forward to the next slide. And ma'am, in the end, we will come back to, I would also want to know, and I think the students would also want to know that how did you plan a day in your life when you were preparing for NEET? Because now we give so many, we preach so much about how they should be planning their day, but what actually used to happen to us in our times, I think we can talk about that in a while. But let's take this forward and first talk about their strategies. So, Vaishnavi ma'am, over to you. Let's begin with it.
Yeah, so I think strategies for doing any sort of MCQ has to be, very conscious effort. It is not something that you would get it just like that on the day of examination or just seeing the question paper. So this was something that I learned during my times as well. So when I was taking mock examinations, the thought process in my head would be, okay, the answer will be just in front of me. There are hardly four options. One of the four will be the answer, and I'm just going to see and get it right. But when I attempted the test, I knew where my brain is going wrong, where is my thought process wrong, what am I understanding wrong, where is the comprehension going wrong. So many wrongs you get to know when you take up tests, especially for MCQs, and then you get to know what is the right way forward. And each question is different. Every question is, unlike today's time, if we see the pattern of questions also have evolved with time, and we are seeing so many long stem clinical questions, we are seeing twists in the PYQ, we are seeing image based questions. So there is a different variety of questions also on the platter today in today's time. So I think each question needs a separate preparation by itself, and that I think will come only with conscious effort of solving more and more questions, practicing them over and over with time. So I know that there are a lot of questions and a lot of techniques for tackling those questions. So I would like to ask Dr. Nikita, like if you see an image in a question, like you, because radiology is something that we see a lot of images coming with. So if you see an image-based question from radiology, what would your go-to, strategy be? Like how will you solve that question? I think you will be the best person to explain students about this.
Yeah, sure, ma'am. So, I think that someone who gets a rank 1 in the exam is not because they know everything and they've read everything and they know answers to all the questions. The first thing that I would like to convey is the students do have a room of making a lot of mistakes in the exam. It's not that, oh my God, a question ka answer nahi aa raha, that's mean I've lost the game. But at the same time, when they don't know answers to the MCQ questions in the exam, they need to develop those skills of getting the answers right, even when they don't know the answers. And I think that's what basically the topper does. So the topper secrets for image-based questions, as you said in radiology, is first have a look at the image and have a look at the options, because the options tell you that ये कौन से system में से ये brain का question है, कि ये abdomen का question है, कि ये chest का question है. At least we get an idea about that from which system, out of the all the information that's stored in my brain, which is that folder that I need to retrieve the information from, right? So first have a look at the image, have a look at the options, and then go to the question. Many times the spotter image, you'll get the answer correctly. Other way around, image nahi bhi aata hai, but still the clinical history will be very, very important to help you get to the right answer, right? For example, recently in the NEET PG exam, 2 years back, we saw a question on vein of Galen malformation. Previously, it used to be asked as a clinical question. With the images, it came along with the clinical history and the image. But if a student does not know that how a vein of Galen malformation looks on CT or MRI, it's absolutely fine. The history is the giveaway there, right? So the learning points, image, options, and history. Basically connect the dots and get to the answer. And most important, you have 4 options. You have to rule out ye nahi hai answer, ye nahi hai. Even if you rule out 3 options, you are there to the right answer, right? That's the game there, particularly when you're solving the MCQs. Yes.
Yes, I think when you're given any images, the images themselves give you the diagnosis in most times. So whenever we see an image in ENT, we know what is the diagnosis. So in that situation, I would recommend students not to go through the entire length of question, but just to go to the last few lines and understand what is the examiner asking for, like what is the question all about. And I think that way they would be saving time and saving their mental energy for the further questions. So in ENT, there are a set of images that they need to know. And if they rapidly revise this during the last few days before their examination, that's going to be of utmost help for them in solving at least ENT image based questions. How about patho, ma'am? In patho, you see a lot of long stem questions. So how would you advise students to go about it?
Ma'am, the advantage of long STEM questions, I mean, students, and if I would have also been a student, it would be a very scary scenario for me where I see a 10-sentence question and I have 1 minute to solve it. So I've always told students that don't be scared, because it's a fact of life that the more a person speaks, the more information he's leaking out to you. So don't be scared that the examiner has spoken for 10 lines. Be happy that he's spoken for 10 lines, because along with pathology, he's then ended up telling you a lot of medicine, a lot of surgery, a lot of probably OBGY. So the more lengthier the question is, the more information he's actually putting out in front of you, and that makes your answer solving easier in comparison to you thinking that it's becoming tougher. So long STEM questions are always better, but yeah, what you actually need there is time management, and for time management you need to practice that aspect now, and that's about training your eye. So it's not that every time you'll be able to solve it in 30 seconds or 40 seconds. Some of them are genuinely lengthy, they will take that extra 15 seconds of your time, and that's fine, but you should just train yourself to be able to pick up those buzzwords. And if an image is given, then nothing like it. Like, there are so many spotters that in so many years, by seeing your lectures, like say the rhinosporidiosis, the classical photo, the South India history and the classical photo, and in radiology I see Nikita ma'am showing that snowman so many times, and the boot shaped heart, and in ophthal cherry red spot, pathology, microculture media. I mean, some of the photos are such that even if you just scanned through some of the YouTube lectures, you would know that these images are bound to come in the exam, and there's no escaping them. And if they come, then your life becomes simpler, right? So images, the more the better, because they make our life a lot simpler. And same for lengthy questions. Just practice on your time management.
Absolutely, ma'am. And I think I have taken this word from you, the buzzwords. Like, I've heard this so much from you that of late I am telling my students during my classes that look for these buzzwords in the history. Like, we're talking about a disease, I always tell them during the explanation part that these three buzzwords, like 30-year, female, conductive hearing loss, and this is post pregnancy, the answer has to be otosclerosis. So just keep that combination ready in your head for each disease, then things would get easier. So I think this would be a good strategy of understanding from all the three educators on how to solve MCQs and how to go ahead with the MCQ part. And I think we're good to go to the next slide.
Yes, ma'am.
Take
Before
one
this,
question. Yeah, we'll take
yeah,
one.
there are two questions, in fact, Dr. Spider-Man and Dr. Kalyan. And both of them have asked about, Dr. Spider-Man has asked about rapid revision edge, and Dr. Kalyan also on the same lines has said that since the rapid revision edge is starting on 22nd of September, so how should they go through the main notes in that? So, Nikita ma'am, if you want to take that up, that, like Gynae and PSM are subjects which are very lengthy and students have to go through main notes. So, how should they fit that into their rapid edge revision, maybe buffer days? What would you suggest to them?
So what I would suggest is the best part about rapid revision edge, as we will be talking about, is also that it gives students a very, very, easy to follow timetable where they have the buffer days as well. So maybe they can just start with the rapid revision videos itself, complemented with the PYQs. We have the PYQ days as well. And still, if they feel there's something missing, on the buffer days, they can cover those topics which they seem were maybe not covered in their whole entirety, or they could not get it entirely through the rapid revision videos. They can do it from the main videos. So if I was preparing, I would do this. I would first start with rapid revision videos, complement it with PYQs, and then reflect back and think that whether this point was covered in rapid revision or not. If not, then I'll keep it for the buffer days to complete the backlog.
Right. So I think Dr. Kalyan, your question seems sorted there. A couple of questions also coming up for, live sessions and all. So Dr. Tejas, we will have live sessions for INI, FMG and NEET, and INI sessions, I believe, are starting on YouTube in the first week of October. So yeah, that is going to happen as always. All the educators of 19 subjects will be helping you. So yes, ma'am, let's go forward with a question. Before it comes, I think we should answer how to improve the GT score.
Yeah, so I'll take that up regarding the GT scores. I think as the exam comes near, this is the most common question that we get from the students. In spite of studying so much, we are stuck at a score of 120, 130. So I think it's a very, very easy flowchart analysis to be followed. First thing is use your grand test and mock test as a learning tool, not as like your assessment tool. Don't think that if my score is less, it will affect my confidence. It will lower my confidence. So I better don't give it. So point number one, please give your grand test and mock test right from the beginning when you're done with your 4 to 5 subjects also. Next is, if you are struggling with stagnant grand test scores, try to analyze. What is the pattern of the questions that I'm getting wrong? Like, is it conceptual questions I'm getting wrong? Is it the fact-based, like, the Rattamar questions that I'm getting wrong? Or is it just silly mistakes? Like, I knew the theory part, I knew, but because I did not solve the MCQs so many, I did not make the best use of the Q bank that I have, I was not able to get the right answer. So once you categorize and you see for yourself, this is the pattern of mistakes that I'm doing, then the answer is easy. If it's conceptual questions, easy, go to the videos, understand the concept, solve some questions, and then come back. Second, if it is the memory-based, fact-based questions, you need to use some mnemonics to help you remember the stuff there and revise. If not mnemonics, revision is the only key. Frequent revision for those volatile topics. Just have some sticky notes stuck around. You keep looking at them again and again. And if it is silly mistakes, the only thing is to practice more questions from the Q bank, not just doing the same questions again and again, but the clinical questions that we have in PrepLadder Q bank, which help you, stimulate your brain. Those are the questions that a student should be practicing. So I think analysis, working about it before you go to the grand test is the way to improve the grand test scores. Dr. Vyshnavi, over to you. What would be your strategy?
As you said, analysis is the most important thing. And I feel that when it comes to analysis, most students get lazy about it because they've attempted that question paper, they've seen that questions, and now to go back and to read what they have done right and what they have done wrong in the early part of their studies, maybe they would do that and maybe they would analyze. But over giving GTs, over a period of time, they would feel that it's not much useful. Let me just go to the next topic. Let me read some new information. Let me leave. It's okay. Let me not analyze this test. And it's actually a little laborious to go ahead and analyze and dissect your performance, because first of all, if you have not done well, you don't feel like seeing the paper, and if you've not done well, to analyze so many wrong answers would take a lot of time. So I think that's where the students should feel motivated, that it's okay that I didn't do so well in my GT, and this is the time I'm going to go and see what I have done wrong. And that motivation has to come from within, and that has to come each and every time they appear for GT. GT has to be there, a part of the regular schedule, and they will have to analyze each and every GT score. And if they are not improving, there is solid something wrong happening in their preparation. And that what is wrong happening in their preparation, I think they are the best people who can analyze it. And I think on PrepLadder, we have analytics, which gives very beautifully, what subject they're going wrong in, what subtopic or concept they're going wrong in. So if they themselves are not able to find that out, then maybe they can take help of these apps and make sure that they are not lagging in those core concepts or core questions, which is repeatedly going wrong each and every time. So I think that motivation to solve analytics of GT is a must each and every time, and not just in the starting and give up in the later part of time. What would you say, Dr. Preeti?
I think both of you are GT experts when it comes to giving advice. So pretty much on the same lines, it's always the analysis that's most important. And first and foremost, not being scared of giving a grand test, because I as a student was very scared of giving grand tests. And I still remember that because I gave very few tests before my actual exam. I remember that just before NEET PG, we had a DNB exam, and I majorly messed up in my DNB exam to the extent that, there was a good 20 minutes in the exam where I was so anxious that I could not do anything, because as I said, it was the first NEET PG ever, so we didn't have too many mock tests and all happening that time. So I remember that because there was a lack of GTs in my preparation, the first DNB exam that I gave turned out to be a total disaster, and thankfully I had that experience, so my NEET PG turned out to be well. So that is what you realize. You don't want that to happen on the day of the exam. So you need to, and I've told students so many times that you've been given a set of mistakes that you can, commit. Your mind is tuned to commit a set of, say, 10 mistakes. Commit all those mistakes right now so that you don't have any left. And now when you go in the exam, you know that this is the mistake. I make a silly mistake here. I don't read correctly. I don't see the options. You know how your mind works. And that is only possible if you've given ample number of tests prior. So I think the rest is the same as how both of you have wonderfully described to the students. That remains the strategy.
One more thing I'd like to add here, it helps you stay grounded, because I remember very well during my times we had for private institutes an exam called as Comet K, and there was a Karnataka CT separated.
Yes.
So Comet K would happen before and Karnataka CT would happen later. So I gave Comet K and my rank was 300, and I was super excited that wow, I did so well. And I just left 15 days of last final preparation thinking I'm already good at my subject, to realize that I got 1500 rank in KCET. So I jumped 5 times behind in my KCET examination. So I think that when you give GTs over time repeatedly, you know where is your performance going, what is your trend, are you going in a positive way, are you going in a negative way, somewhere you fall, somewhere you rise, and that will help you keep your mental sane. And when you're going to the exam hall, you have given so many exams. I don't have to be overconfident or underconfident. I'm confident of whatever I have prepared so far. So I think that's about the GT, ma'am. And Nikita, ma'am, you want to take up some questions from the chat?
Yeah, we have a question from Ankit Chauhan asking कि जो subjects नहीं किए हैं उसके भी questions analyze करने हैं when we are giving the grand test. Absolutely yes. Personally, I believe that start your analysis first with the wrong questions, understanding what mistakes you have made, be it from a subject that you have not read as well. Then go on to the questions, where you guessed and then they came right and the right ones. Because what happens is when you solve a question, you make a mistake, even if you have not read a subject, that does not mean that you have not read the subject in your UG days. It's just that you have not read it recently. So that does not mean that a subject is very, very new to you. You have read about it in your undergraduate days. So use your grand test as a learning tool as well. Because in the grand test, you would see the questions coming from the topics that are frequently asked. So in a way, you are doing bits and pieces that you have not done now. So it's a learning tool at least. Yeah. Any other questions before we are going ahead to the next slide?
Ma'am, there's a question by Dr. Rishikesh, and he's saying consistency maintain karna bahut difficulty ho ja raha hai. What should we do? So I think there's a very simple line that I'd like to answer this with is, it is easy to make a timetable. It is difficult to follow it. And even if you follow it, there are a lot of distractions. But training your mind to be disciplined is what you should do, rather than training of your body to follow a certain timetable. If your mind is in place, everything falls in place. So just in your head, stay focused, don't get distracted. Just make sure that you are going to plan something and just follow it, and don't think of anything else beyond that point. Don't procrastinate that if I don't do this, if I don't do that. Just plan and keep everything in your mind and just follow your mind. Don't think of anything else is what I would tell. Consistency will come automatically with it.
Right. We have another question, ma'am, from a doctor whose username is Frustrated Macrophage. And he's asked whether 3 months are enough for FMG with the rapid revision edge if he starts from tomorrow, because he's saying that he's a little low on confidence. So precisely why the rapid revision edge has been planned starting tomorrow for 71 days for the December FMG, because we want students who've not been on track for them to come on track, and it's very difficult to do so on your own. And your username, you should not be low on confidence. You've selected a very right username. Macrophage rakha na. Macrophage means you can eat up a lot of things. You can do a lot of phagocytosis. Now this is your real time to show your phagocytosis. Eat up all the information in the next 71 days, and then after that just go and vomit that information on the day of the exam, and you're good to go. So your username should be what you should be following at this point of time, and don't worry about confidence. And another student has written that, despite studying, Dr. Medico has written, practice ke baad bhi depression hota hai. See, no one has gone through this journey all smiling, laughing, and at the highest scale of their mood. Everyone has gone through this journey with a lot of depression and low confidence only, including all of us. So in fact, this journey has more of lows and very little highs. It's not an alternate scene that goes out here. So this is precisely how it's going to go. And like Vyshnavi ma'am said, No matter a good day or a bad day, a good GT score or a bad GT score, it's just that you keep on going every single day with your routine, just thinking that, right now there are minor ups and downs and obstacles, but the end result will turn out in my favor. And that kind of faith you will have to have in yourself and your hard work.
I'm sure the students must be thinking कि बोलने के लिए सब कुछ बहुत easy लगता है.
That's why we are saying कि बार-बार हमारे को अपना time याद आ रहा है, that as we say that when we used to do all of this and when we'll tell our day, we also had the same things. There were days when 1 hour, 2 hours, we would be sitting blank and not studying at all. But yeah, much easier said than done.
Yeah, but now that we are on the other side, that's why we can say that, जितना difficult ये दिखता है उतना difficult नहीं है. So please take a chill pill as well. That's very, very important. Yeah, let's go on to the next slide.
Right, so we'll take up a few questions after this. The next one, which a lot of students have written up, is how to integrate the video lectures and the notes. And this, especially students, many of you might have already gone through video lectures, but many of you might be starting with the rapid revision edge plan from September 22nd. So how should you integrate your videos and notes? Because now you don't have time that you can see the video lectures again and again. Once you'll view them and that's your final wrap up, after that it's only your notes which you can revise repeatedly. So while you're watching the video lectures, this much let us all admit that we do not watch at a 1x speed. All of us are guilty of at least a 1.5x, right? So firstly, that saves on your time. And as you're watching the video lectures, now the time of making your notes is gone. You've got your RR rapid revision notes with you. You sit down with the printed notes in front of you, and don't consider your notes or your booklet as a canvas, and don't start highlighting every sentence, every word, and don't make it a colorful, don't make it a pathology slide. You have to be very, 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 very cautious about what you're highlighting. Why do I say that? Because in one page, use one color and highlight 10 most important words. Because trust me, once you go through those notes and once you're done with your syllabus, when you come back to the notes, you will not have time to read each and every sentence and word and image again and again. You would want to read just that important one word in every sentence that will remind you of what was the main concept all about. So that would be easier only if you've highlighted. So keep a limit that in every page I have to highlight 10 to 12 most important words in that page, so that in my revision I just go through those main words. What I also used to do was, instead of highlighting, I used to make a small yellow sticky note, and those 10 or 12 words I used to write over there, so that used to become my revision chit for the last few days or weeks. That is something that you need to do, because over and over again you won't be able to keep going back to the videos and the notes. That is something which is very essential. Also, at the same time, there are some topics or some subjects which you might have studied earlier, even when you start with the rapid revision edge. So subjects which you've already studied from the videos earlier, don't look at those videos, directly jump to the notes. You have to be very mindful of how much of time you have in hand. So don't go through the videos, directly jump to the notes, cover them. For subjects which you've never ever read, like Nikita ma'am was addressing one student ki jo subject kabhi bhi nahi padha, uska rapid revision video you're gonna see. And then of course, like I said, you're going to highlight the important points or the words in your notes. That's the ideal way of matching the notes, and it's an audio video amalgamation that you have to do at this point of time. So yeah, any take of yours, ma'am, on this integration for the students?
Ma'am, generally, see, even today, for what I do when I'm reading any topic, like even if I'm reading certain update, or during my PG when we had voluminous books to study, and we had to concise that information to be able to remember in our exams. So what I generally would do is, if I'm reading a chapter, I would, or if I was a today's era student and if I'm listening to a certain video, I would probably finish, like, say, maximum 20 minutes or 30 minutes of video and then give a break. I wouldn't go to listen all 6-7 hours video in one go. Probably give 20-30 minutes of videos, listening to it, and then give a break, and then introspect for myself. What have I learned from this video? it takes just 5 minutes to recollect that entire 30 minutes information. And then you realize at certain point you're stuck. At certain point, your brain is not really clear. There is some fogginess in your brain. So those are the points which you will have to highlight in your note and understand that this is something that I'm getting stuck onto. This is some point that I am not really understanding well. So if you do that, then you will see that the number of highlights in your book will drastically come down. And because you're actively recalling and introspecting yourself, you're understanding the topic better, and you're able to reproduce the same in your exams in a better way. And when you're solving the questions, your brain is automatically feeding you the information in very quick, in a few seconds time, I would say. So introspecting oneself is the most important thing when it comes to making notes, because if you're borrowing somebody's notes and seeing that's not your note, it's their note, that is something that is personalized to them. So try and introspect each one of you and find out where you are lagging or where you're getting stuck during the theory process, so that amount of information that you have for the last is much lesser, and that will help you in getting through quick revisions multiple times and not one or two revisions just before the exam. So that would be my strategy. I mean, of course, I compliment to whatever you told. They're absolutely wonderful tips.
Nikita ma'am, over to you, because since you also deal with a lot of other subjects, so integration is something that you would also be able to advise a lot better than us to the students.
So videos and notes, and one thing that I would like to integrate here is the PYQs specifically. If I was a student, what I would do before starting to watch any particular chapter video or something would be, first I would have a look at the PYQs, because that gives an idea कि ये chapter में से पूछा क्या जा रहा है, what exactly is the area of interest for the examiner, because what we think is important might not be important for the examiner, or the vice versa. So I would first say have a look at the previous year questions. We have it in the app already. Then go through the videos, and side by side, like Vaishnavi ma'am said, ऐसा नहीं कि पूरे 3-4 घंटे videos देख के at the end you realize कि कुछ we have not been able to assimilate, right? So it is like taking one bite, digesting it, and then you take the next bite. I think that's the way around. And students can actually, the beauty of PrepLadder app is that all the 19 subjects are given to you at once. So the students can actually integrate pathology with medicine, with pharmacology, ENT with anatomy, ophthalm with anatomy, and they can learn it like as one patient rather than looking at it as 19 different subjects. So I think someone had put that query as well कि सब पढ़ने के बाद एक बार reading के बाद सब कुछ mix हो जाता है. That's basically, I believe, because we have not integrated while we were learning the stuff. So don't look at it as 19 subjects, but look at it like one patient where you have to integrate everything.
I think in the chat box, there's a constant question that how many MCQs should we solve each day? Like, is 50 sufficient? Is 100 sufficient? And how should we go about, solving the number of questions each day? I think that good or bad, on an average, minimum somewhere between 50 to 100 questions, even if you know the concept, do not know the concept, just solve it to get a familiarity of the concept or familiarity of the questions, I would say, so that when you're doing the subject, this part of the topic is important. This sort of a question had appeared before. So I think just giving the questions a try every day, 50 to 100 questions, either from the topics that you've studied or even from the topics that you haven't studied, is still going to be worthy. What about you people, ma'am? What do you have to tell on this?
I think, ma'am, the same goes from my end, touching somewhere close to 100. And I was also going through the schedule that has been prepared for the Rapid Revision Edge starting on 22nd. And in that, apart from the number of study hours that need to be committed on each day, the number of questions are also sorted. So how many questions from the Q bank that you need to solve on that particular day related to that subject, say somewhere between 100 to 120, have also been shortlisted and are going to be put up in front of you. So at least that's another big headache which I can definitely see the students have in their mind. That is also going to be taken care of. So certainly the same number. And if by chance you are, say someone said I'm solving 40 questions per day, and suddenly you hear me and Vyshnavi ma'am and Nikita ma'am saying no, you should be solving 100 per day, it's going to suddenly give you that sudden anxiety is going to take over you. But that's not how it works for everyone. Whatever you're solving today, just increase 5 to 7 questions tomorrow. Take it as very gradual. We're not telling you to today do 40 and tomorrow jump to 100 all of a sudden. Just try for a 45 questions tomorrow. Gradually increase 5 questions per day, and trust me, with that small little effort that you'll put in on a daily basis, within 2 to 3 weeks you will see that change in your daily routine, and you will easily be able to touch the 100 mark also. So yeah, that should be a strategy for you to follow.
I think we're getting some more questions as well, whether the rapid revision is enough for main subjects, because there's no enough time. I think in a way we have answered that. And I think the students can get their answer by themselves, that watch the rapid revision, solve the PYQs as a test. And if you can do that, that means the rapid revision was enough. Whatever has been asked in the past, the future exams are going to ask on the same lines, not very, very different, right? So decide for yourself, and I would absolutely go for that. Going on to the next question, how to plan your day? I think, again, a very, very frequently asked question, especially for the interns and the working doctors. They have this question always, we get very less time. How should we plan our day? My take on that is, if I am a student who has 24 hours to my discretion, ki padna hai, pad lo. Out of those 24 hours, maximum is 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours is what I would study, not more than that. So the productive time is actually that much. And the same applies for the interns and the working professionals, because, even if you're getting 6 hours and 8 hours after your duties and internship, you are good to go, right? You don't need to have those 24 hours to crack this exam. Trust me for that, because we have done it with internship. And I have seen myself, if I was an intern when I was preparing, तो वो एक दिमाग में रहता था कि ऑलरेडी इतना टाइम दिन का चले गया है, अभी बहुत टाइम नहीं है टू वेस्ट, सो बेटर है कि जितना टाइम है उसमें अच्छे से पढ़ ले. So we always had that at the back of mind. So actually your efficiency increases. At the same time, I remember very vividly, in my internship also, when I'm waiting for my senior to come for, on the posting for the rounds, even if there was 5 minutes, 10 minutes ka gap, I would just take out my notebook and revise whatever I had read yesterday. That is how I used to plan a lot of revisions. And unknowingly at the end, I realized, oh my God, that's how we tackle revision. Revision does not mean ki ek reading khatam karo, fir revision karo itna, fir second revision karo. The revision has to go along with the first reading itself. And I think that's the way forward for the interns and the working professionals. What's your take on that, Vyshnavi ma'am?
Ma'am, I think that interns and working professionals have a feeling that, we don't have sufficient time, and the others who are taking full day off to study, they are studying more than them. I think that's absolutely wrong. And if I would put myself in that place, and if I see, if I'm given a day, full day as a holiday, that day I will work same amount of time as much as I would work on a day that is an actual working day. So if you want to study, you will study anyhow. So first of all, get that out of your head that those who are having full day to study are studying more than you. That is not a truth. That is just a myth. Yes, maybe there are people who are doing so, but what matters is how effectively you're studying and how effectively you're utilizing your time. So interns and working professionals will have to do a good time management, will have to plan their schedule, will have to make sure that at least 3 hours prior and 3 hours after their work time, they will have to dedicate for studies itself. And as much as possible during the first 3 hours of the day before they go to the work, I would say that they should get their concepts of subjects right during that time. And maybe in the end of the day, when they are tired after their work or after their internship, maybe get to solving MCQs and get a hang of doing the questions, so that they don't feel lost and they don't feel like giving it up at the end of the day. So I think that if you can manage your time in a way that 3 hours prior and 3 hours later, 6 hours is a good time each day. And just before your exams, maybe I would say take a 3-month gap. I would say that just stop your work for 3 months at least, bare minimum, and then put all your energies in revision, in doing grand tests, in analyzing your faults, your flaws or whatever, and then come to the exam hall with more confidence. So just before 3 months, I would strongly recommend that stop whatever you're doing, whether it is internship or whether it is work, give that at least minimum 2 to 3 months of break to be able to get the best results in the exam. What about you, Preeti ma'am?
Right, so I would just copy paste what both of you said, and just add as to, like ma'am also said right now, that whatever you tell your brain and your body acts accordingly. So if you tell yourself that you have an entire day, you will automatically procrastinate. There will be a certain time where you will doze off, where you would get attracted to checking social media. There are a lot of other distractions also that come along. So the grass is always greener on the other side. You always feel that, if I would get an entire day, I don't know, maybe I would get AIR1 and so on and so forth. But trust me, there are a lot of disadvantages of that also. So whatever situation you are in, if you're working as a professional, as an intern, trust me, all of us have done that. So we can say it, that it's tough, but it is definitely possible, it's achievable, and we all have achieved it alongside our internships. Yes, there are certain heavy postings where you should try and cover your shorter subjects, and then there are some light postings like you have dermatology, anesthesia and so on, and that is where you cover all your heavy subjects like medicine, OBGY, surgery and so on. So you have to do that mix and match and decide as to when you will be getting time or not. And like Nikita ma'am was also saying, that whatever time you get in between, see, now you guys have an advantage, you have app-based studies. Even if you're getting a half an hour break, you can solve MCQs, you can go through the treasures, you can go through your notes, you can go through mnemonics, you can utilize that time. And one more tip that I would want to tell you is, start irritating people. And when I say that, that means that catch hold of anyone who comes your way and start teaching them. Even if they're listening to you, not listening to you, they are interested, they are they're making faces at you for boring them to death, let it be. But the more you speak out and repeat the same thing over and over again, the more it is going to remain in your mind, even if you don't get time to revise it later on. So whatever break you get, be it your the interns working with you, or maybe be it the MBBS students, or sometimes residents also say कि कुछ पढ़ा दो, because residents को पढ़ने का time नहीं मिलता है. So they really bank upon interns that they will read and they will teach us something, because probably they are getting some time in life to study. So just catch hold of anyone who comes your way and teach them. Whatever you have read, start teaching it to anyone. As I said, they will get a little irritated with you, but that's okay, as long as it's benefiting you. It's all well to go ahead with that also. But yeah, revision in whatever time you get is the key to the answer to this.
Yeah,
True
so
that.
let's go ahead with the next slide now.
Right, so I think revision strategy of notes we've already answered alongside the students, so we can certainly take a skip on that slide and move forward also. This is something which, ma'am, you can start. Blunders that should have been avoided. I honestly, thankfully, on the day of the exam, like I told you, in my DNB, I committed like a big blunder, and that was primarily because I was not used to giving grand tests. So it was like a first time exam experience for me, and I blanked out completely. And I'm so glad I blanked out, because if that wouldn't have happened, my NEET PG wouldn't have been successful then. But thankfully, with God's grace, my NEET PG had no blunders. But did anything like this happen to you on the exam day?
Not exactly on the day of my primary exam, which was already a PG, not then. But of course, I didn't think I would get this topic. But now, because we have this discussion, I think it's important to get the topic of having an adequate sleep. Because I think when we are going to the exam hall, we tend to be very anxious. We tend to have that panic, and even if we go onto the bed, we really don't feel like sleeping at all. So that, I think, is a common thing that everybody would face just before their exams. And what happened with me is, I was supposed to give a private institute, a deemed university examination. And I went and I just didn't wake up before the exam. I mean, I just didn't attend the exam at all. I went to the, we had to go to the destination and stay there. And maybe next day I had to give my exam. And I just dozed off like crazy, and I didn't wake up for the exam at all. So I think that should not happen with anybody. And even for the fact that, that day I just felt like, how lost could I be? But I think that's the person I am. If I am there, I'm 100%. Otherwise, I'm not there at all. So everyone is different. I think this was one such blunder that helped me understand that a good sleep is very important before something important in your life. So don't do this. I'm sure majority wouldn't do it, but still get a good sleep so that your brain functions at its maximum on the day of examination. And this was one such blunder that I committed, and I'm accepting to the world today. And I'm sure there could be many like this, like me. What about you, Nikita ma'am?
Yeah, absolutely. I can never forget my All India PG 2012 exam. So, like a student who expects a lot from herself कि नहीं मेरा rank एकदम बहुत अच्छा आना चाहिए. So, I believe that majority of the students were asking about how to tackle anxiety, panic. I think we get anxious and we get panic attacks because we are attached so much to the result of this exam. Like all our stakes are on the result of this exam. So in that process, we had +4, -1, negative marking was there. I never faced the problem of time management ki time kam pad raha hai. But the problem that I faced in my exam hall was the questions where I did not know the answer. I did not mark the answers to them. Once I finished the first round, I still had like 1 hour, 45 minutes to 1 hour left to review the questions. ऐसा नहीं था कि मेरे पास time नहीं है. But still that anxiety ki, अगर मैंने कर दिया तो ये -1 हो जाएगा. But that +4 was never clicking. Even though, like, unlike Dr. Preeti, I used to give all the grand tests very sincerely. Like, we used to have offline mock tests. Once a month used to be there. And I used to score very good in the mock test as well. So that's why I always had this, no, I'll do good. But in the exam hall, we tend to be very, very overcautious because we know that here, every negative mark counts. Grand test and mock test में लगता है rank ऊपर नीचे होगा कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. But here we are very, very anxious. So in that process, out of 300 questions, I ended up attempting only 240 questions. Right now, we tell students कि नहीं 200 में से 190 plus करना चाहिए. But actually, I myself attempted only 240 questions. And when I came out of the exam hall, when I asked my friend come competitor, तुमने कितने attempt किए? उसने बोला कि मैंने 295 किए. तब मुझे समझ गया कि मेरा, I have done it really bad. And I actually started crying out of my exam hall, like that छोटा बच्चों. And I was really crying कि I've spoiled my exam. But that was a learning lesson, like Dr. Preeti said कि DNV के बाद NEET PG था. Same was for me कि AI PG के बाद state PG exam था, Maharashtra PG था. Learned out of it, should not do mistakes like this. And thankfully, the Maharashtra State PG went well. So I think that is one blunder that I would definitely like to avoid. Ki do not give too much importance to that -1 negative mark. Please focus on the +4. That is much more like than your -1.
So
Right.
true. So listening to all of that, students would definitely know that although now we sit in front of them and say so many things, but in our times we've also slept through exams, we've also committed mistakes, we've done a lot. A lot of things which they probably do now, but it's a part of the journey for everyone, irrespective of the time and the year. Everyone goes through the same set of problems.
Yes, ma'am. And I think that we should be as genuine as we can and just do whatever you can do at your best. Everyone is not the same. You are so different from Nikita, ma'am, and so am I. So each one has their own ways of facing a challenge. And I think students should know what is their challenge and navigate with their wisdom how to go about it. And it's not that just follow somebody blindly. Of course, take cues from others, take understandings from others, and don't commit the blunder. And when you have set of so many people preparing alongside you, like say rapid revision has 20,000 students preparing at one go, then you know that what is my friend committing, or what blunder is my friend committing, or what am I going wrong with. So there you have a scope of understanding that these are the set of things I will never do in my exams. And now we're discussing one blunder, and I'm sure if we sit and dissect out, we would have thousands of blunder that will come out during our entire discussion. So if we have people around us who are preparing for a common goal, I think we will be able to avoid maximum of these blunder during these examinations.
True that.
Right. So I guess most of the questions, even for the students, are covered. Just one last question, which said that a lot of students are already having their ongoing schedule since a while, and now if they want to join in for Rapid Revision Edge starting from September 22nd, how should they, merge these two plans, the ones that they have ongoing and the RR Edge? So I would just want to say to it that you should still enroll for RR Edge because firstly, it gives you a fixed timetable. I mean, all of us know that our own timetables tend to change after every 10 to 15 days because of backlogs. We change it and for whatever reasons, but this is fixed for the next 71 days for FMGE and 90+ days for NEET PG. So stick to this, and whatever things you have already covered from the video lectures, so on those days you just revise your notes. Those days become your revision days. And for subjects that you have not covered, then in this particular schedule, you can cover those subjects. So I think it's a good idea of simultaneously covering the untouched topics and revising what you have been looking out to do since a long time. So both of them will occur simultaneously. I think Dr. PK had asked that. So yeah, that's my take on it.
Yeah, I think we have one more question specific for INI-CET also. Kashish is asking how many correct questions are required to get a decent rank in INI-CET. So taking that up, Kashish, I would like to say that, you have a good enough margin of making 45 questions wrong in INI-CET. When I say that, assuming that you are attempting 200 and you're making 45 wrong. So if I do minus 1/3 for that, it's basically your 15 that is going. So out of 155 minus 15, it's your 140 score. So around a score of 140 to 150 is what gives you a rank under 100. So based on that, maybe if you want much better rank than that, you can increase your, just calculate कि अगर मैंने इतने attempt किए हैं, इतने incorrect हैं, this is where I will stand. So accordingly, pre-calculate. Please don't leave it for the exam day. I've given you a rough estimate on how many correct you should be getting to get a good rank in INI-CET. Dr. Vyshnavi, we have a question from a student Naresh asking that बहुत anxiety होती है तो उसको कैसे दूर करें? You seem to be the calmest of all of us, so we would like to ask
So
you
I
कि
think
anxiety कैसे handle
everyone is a
करें?
different personality, right? Some are type A, some are type B. So I think it is, I mean, being calm is a part of your personality. So that way, I think I am not that type A person, but of course, I also have anxiety. And when I was a student, I was very anxious. And now being a mother, I'm even more anxious of how my son is doing during his studies. So it goes same with the students as well, because I feel they are our own, and whatever I would tell probably my son is what I will tell them as well. So whenever there is an anxiety or whenever you're very scared of the fact that how am I going to sail through this entire process, I would just say that don't think of the end result, just think of the process at the moment. The process is you have to study, that's all that you have to do. Your work or your agenda is just make sure that the target given to you on that day or whatever you're supposed to do on studies on that day, finish that off with utmost dedication. You ask yourself at the end of the day a question: did I do my best on this day? Don't think about it after your exams, like why did I go wrong, or why did I not get a rank, or how will I perform my exams. Don't think of all that at this moment of time. Give your dedication day on day and hour on hour. Just ask yourself, the hour I spent with the videos, the hour I spent with the Q-band, did I do the maximum or most out of it? And when you do this thing, you will not feel anxious at all. You will feel more relaxed, more calm and confident that yes, I'm going on the right path. I'm utilizing each and every minute, each and every hour, each and every day is going green in my notebook. I am doing the best that I could. Results will flow. There is no doubt on that. And I have experienced this to myself, that even being a mediocre student, I will not take that, on my head that I'm a topper and I'm the best, I'm all India so and so. No, but I'm a mediocre student like most students are. But only thing that I did right during my preparation was trusted myself and gave that 100% effort each day. And if you people can do that each day and not think of the final outcome, I think results will follow you everywhere you go, not just in this exam, even in the entire journey of life.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Those words will work for us as well, I believe.
And another thing that I've always learned from Vaishnavi ma'am is that she in a very humble way just goes on saying that I haven't been amongst the toppers and I'm very mediocre and everything. But not many people know that in Telangana she's one of the best or the best ENT surgeons that we have. But she brushes that under the carpet and doesn't tell anyone about it and calls herself a very mediocre student and nicely puts it across as that. But that's very humble of you, ma'am, to having achieved so much and yet not take any credit for it.
I think that at the moment I'm relating more to a student version of myself than the consultant version of myself, and over time I have seen how I have evolved. And if I had to give some genuine advice to students, I would go back to my student life, and probably from those lessons I have learned, I'll tell my students that do this and don't do that.
So what actually students can learn from all of us is that when they see us for 1 hour of the day, they find us as very calm and composed and sorted individuals. But we have reached here after being extremely anxious, panicky, messy, and we've messed up on a lot of things in our own journey. And then we've reached that Zen mode in life where today we can say that, there's no need to take so much of tension, and, everything gets sorted, because we have had our own meltdowns and mental breakdowns at our own, at our own point of time. And now we finally have achieved this kind of sanity and the calmness that we portray. So don't worry, we were not born with it. We've also evolved and learned it somewhere.
Correct.
True that. I think one last thing before we call off for the session is, I'm very curious to know that, if we were the students preparing for the upcoming NEET PG 24, or let's say even the FMG exam, and we got to know about Rapid Revision Edge is coming up with their, the dedicated timetable, which gives us the accountability and everything. So I would like to know that how would you, take your course with that, whether you would take it and how would you take it?
Yes, ma'am. So, I mean, honestly, I would take it, considering the fact that, I need a push in my life for everything, not just studies, for everything. I need a push, then I'll go forward. So without that push, without that daily target or somebody asking me accountability for, then I think somewhere I might get lost through the entire journey. So I think Rapid Revision Edge is one such tool that will help you understand, what you have to do on a day-by-day basis, and also give an accountability that did you do all of this, assigned tasks on that particular day. So for a person like me, of course, I would want to go through this so that I can finish my syllabus in time. I will get more confident having solved QBank. There are PYQs also here. So PYQs also get covered through the preparation. I am going through the lectures in a more crisper format. So my revision in my head or the concepts in my head gets better. And I am also seeing myself that, every day there's a green tick mark on my calendar telling that I have done this. And that is a kick for me. When I do have that green marks on my calendar and not red, I would want to strive for more of those green marks each and every day. And definitely, I would be the person who would definitely take up if this was there and I am there as a student. I would take this up and give my best in the Rapid Revision Edge.
Yeah, I believe that many students who might be thinking, we cannot do so much in a day. It's actually when, until and unless we force ourselves to do it. Example, one day before the exam, we tend to revise all the 19 subjects in one day. I think we can do much more than we think that we can when we are forced to do that. And I think that is where the Rapid Revision Edge will be the game changer, forcing the students, even if they think they cannot, but making them believe that they can.
Yes. What about you?
Right. I would take Rapid Revision Edge only for one reason, because honestly saying, I always say this to students otherwise also, irrespective of the platform. See, now there is abundance of information everywhere. I mean, you really need to be living on another planet to say that you don't have an app in hand or something downloaded in your phone. Everyone has at least 10 apps for the same NEET PG plan in front of you. So what is different, and trust me, 95% of the content, I mean, the subjects are not going to change, the course syllabus is not going to change, everything remains the same. But why I would opt for this is because till date I have a problem in making timetables every day. Even during my preparation, when I used to wake up in the morning 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 2 hours of my life I used to waste just deciding कि आज पढ़ना क्या है. And I used to make random permutation combinations कि अच्छा, these many hours if I study, then these many pages I have, and then how do I divide how many pages per hour I have to finish, then how many questions can I do. And while making this timetable, only 2 hours, 2.5 hours of my life used to be wasted. Then used to come a dip in my motivation, then the depression, and then that vicious cycle. It went on and on, which I remember till date, because that's my entire journey summed up in one sentence. So if someone gives me a dedicated timetable which I can blindly trust on, that these are the 8 hours or 6 hours of video lectures, these are the 100 MCQs that you have to solve, and this is your plan for today, and tomorrow I'll let you know what you have to study. So it's something like guiding me through that entire process. I'll be more than happy to blindly trust that process, and I would not take that, at least that strategy making tension is off my head. Someone else is doing it for me, someone else is taking the guarantee for being with me for the next 71 to 90 days. So I think I would have that faith and go forward, and just primarily for the fact that there is a well defined schedule that will be available.
True that. And the very thought, like ma'am said, 20,000 plus students revising, following the same timetable, I think itself is a big kick in itself. Yeah.
Yeah, I think if so many students are studying together, that itself is a big push for you. And to understand what others are doing during the same time is another push for you, because your friends are studying, they are giving their exams, they are achieving their daily targets. You aren't. That itself is a big push for you, that no, I have to get up and I have to, increase my speed or increase my preparation. I can't be lazy enough. So I think that is a very important thing, that this is a synchronous program where we have more than 20,000 aspirants already preparing on the same day, on the same timeline. So I think that is going to be the biggest match that you can have.
Yes, absolutely. And I was just thinking, if I was a student, what would I do? How would I like to add the spice to rapid revision edges with my group of friends with whom I study? Yeah, we would have this competition sort of thing कि किसके इसमें कभी भी अगर green mark नहीं आया on a calendar, फिर आपको पार्टी देनी पड़ेगी, right? So at least with that fear कि नहीं भाई मेरे को पार्टी नहीं देनी है, तो उसके लिए तो मैं पढ़ लूंगी. So that's like a virtual के बदले एक real भी एक deadline हो जाता है कि नहीं अब तो करना ही पड़ेगा.
Yeah.
Yes, so I think we have answered the majority of the questions that we have had from the students as well, and otherwise as well, for the viewers, we are always there by your side. Just drop your queries, and we are looking forward to you on the other side very, very soon. Just have that faith, like ma'am said, that please give in your best every single day. Look at one day at a time. Don't look at that bada sa goal. Take one day at a time. Give in your best every single day, and you shall be here on the other side soon. And please make the best of the resources that we are giving you on PrepLadder, including the Rapid Revision Edge. So much efforts has gone behind making that schedule and making sure that our PrepLadder dreamers are able to achieve their dream. So please make the best of it. And with that, thank you so much for joining in. And that was from my side today. Over to you, Dr. Preeti and Dr. Vyshnavi.
Yeah, it was a wonderful session, ma'am, to understand, insights from both of you. And I think we answered most queries, considering ourselves as students and what we would do during our student days. And I think nobody could get more genuine than this. In this specifically, the entire video, I saw you and Preeti and Nikita ma'am talking so much in detail about your preparations, your blunders, how you face the examination. And I think this is a big takeaway that students should learn from and not commit the same mistakes. They're okay to commit new mistakes, I would say, but do not repeat the same ones.
Thank you so much to both of you. Although, I have shared the screen with you so many times prior to this, but every time it's something that I have a take home message and I have a learning to take back with me. So this has just been one of those, one of the many wonderful sessions that we've had. So thank you to both of you, and thank you for all the learners. Honestly, we did not expect that we'll be extending this session for this duration, but since the questions kept coming, and thanks to the candid conversation that I had with both of you, I think it was totally worth it. So thank you, ma'am, and thank you to everyone for listening patiently.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, dear students, for having been there.
Rapid revision.
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 Rapid revision. Rapid revision.